and welcome Bobcats. My name is Lydia Kidds. I'm a 2012 alumni from the Performing Arts program. My focus was on costume design, but life led me towards becoming a communications professor. I teach visual communications, so graphic and website design and development, social media PR, strategic storytelling, and digital career management. I love working with students to help them learn new skills that they need to be successful entrepreneurs or working in the communications field. I've seen how powerful creating your own business has been in my life, and seeing a student starting to make their own business makes me so happy, which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to introduce you to fellow Bobcat Haylee. Please join us for our 7th event in the virtual Alumni Summer Series, featuring Haylee Leonard as we venture into the world of digital creations. Haylee graduated in 2017 with a major in communications arts and design and a minor in history and business. While at Lees-McRae, she was also a member of the volleyball team. She currently works as a graphic designer on an in-house creative team at Kaplan Early Learning Company, but she also runs and owns her own company, Dual Moon Designs, where she does graphic design, paintings, and murals. Now, on to Haylee's workshop.
Hi, my name is Haylee Leonard and I am a Lees-McRae alum class of 2017. I graduated with a communication arts and design degree with a minor in history and business. I was also a member of the women's volleyball team. Today I work as a graphic designer at an in-house marketing team at Kaplan Early Learning Company. I also own my own business, Dual Moon Designs, where I do commission graphic design, paintings, and murals. You can find me on Instagram, Etsy, Facebook, and Pinterest. So today I will be showing you how to illustrate any portrait in Adobe Illustrator. I'll be doing a very simplistic approach to this, so any beginner or someone who has very little knowledge of Illustrator can follow along. So let's get started.
Okay, to start off with, we will be launching Adobe Illustrator, which I already have up. If you do not have Adobe Illustrator, you can download a 7-day free trial of it just to test it out or just to make this portrait. Or you can use any similar drawing application that has a pen tool of some kind. So first we'll be creating a new document. 8.5 by 11 is standard paper size, so that will work well. Bleed is not really important for what we'll be doing today, and you want to make sure that you have a high PPI. And then create. So the reason why we use Adobe Illustrator for illustrations is that it creates vector graphics. Vector means it can be scaled up big or really tiny and it will not lose any resolution. So for example, if I just create this line, view the stroke, really big. So no matter how much I zoom into this, it will not become pixelated. As you can see, it is still a crisp line. If you were to go into Photoshop and draw a line, it would become pixelated at some point because it is a rasterized graphic. So that is just a quick explanation of the difference between Illustrator and Photoshop. A quick tour of Illustrator before we get started is up here you can change your workspace. Obviously you can customize your workspace however you want, but they do have some settings here. Right now I'm in Essentials. This is an example of what printing and proofing looks like. I like this one a lot because it has all of these tabs on the side, but you can really choose any of them. It just might be easier if you copy what I have here so you can easily find all of the tools. A tool that we'll be using a lot today is the pen tool, which is located here. Pen tool and then anchor point tool. The pen tool is how you can create lines, or you can click and drag to create a curved line, and then you can then hold down your option key if you are on a Mac and change the anchors. Throughout this tutorial I will be using the keyboard commands and I will try to save them as much as possible, but if not, all of the tools are located up here somewhere. And then Command Z to undo. And delete. Another tool we'll be using a lot is the Layers panel. Here is where you can click this little plus icon to add as many layers as you need. And then once you have graphics in here, you'll be able to toggle down and see your sub-layers. Command Z to undo. Our swatches panel will be important for just quickly grabbing colors. Another important tool is the eyedropper tool. And to access that without clicking on it, all you have to do is click eye, and now you can sample any color. A stroke, we won't need this at all, and then appearance if we're doing any funky effects, but we won't really need that today. So we'll pull in our image that we will be drawing today. So we're going to go to File, Place, or Shift Command P if you are on a Mac. I believe it's Control if you are on a PC. And then we're going to pull in our image. To grab this image, we click Place. I'm just going to draw it out. And here we have our beautiful model. And this is lovely Alyssa. I did not tell her I was doing this with her image. Surprise! And I'm just going to go ahead and click Embed just so that this photo will be embedded in my file and not linked to an outside file that if the link got broken, it can mess things up in the future. So just go click Embed just to start off. And then this is in layer 1, which you can see here. And we're just going to name this Background Image, and we're going to lock that file so we don't have to worry about it again, and then click a new layer above it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is illustrate her outside face shape and her neck and body shape that you're going to include, and also her hair. So just those big blocks of color just to get your base down, and then we will go in with the details. So I'm going to just click P to access my pen tool. I'm going to zoom in, which by doing that I'm doing Command plus to zoom in, and we're going to just get her face. I'm going slightly outside what you can see just so I can make sure that I'm not having to adjust my hair to cover that up. So I went a little wide on that one, so I'm going to do Command Z to undo. And we go in and we're just outlining her face here. And I'm going to click here on the Swap, Fill, and Stroke, or you can do Shift X, so that all I can see is my stroke and not the fill, so I can actually see what I'm doing. And continue to work your way around the face. Then boom, you have a face. Now I'm going to Command click just so I am off that path and not accidentally adding a point to it. If this path was still active and I tried to click on it, it would add a point to my path, and we don't want to do that right now, so just Command plus. And then we're going to outline her neck and shoulders that we're going to include. I'm not doing every single detail in this photograph. It's going to be more of a pared down version, a bit more simplistic. Keeping a lot of space that when I go back in, I can just draw the dress over the skin. It'll make a little bit more sense once we get there. And then click that. And we're going to click and drag to make a curved, click and drag, and click. So that is face and body. I find it's easy to just keep naming your layers, otherwise you'll be clicking around trying to find them the whole time. So now on layer 3, I'm going to get the general shape of her hair. I'm just going to fast forward through this so you don't have to watch me click forever. Coming back in here, as you can see, my path, because I drew the anchor, is locked into this curve that's already there. Because I don't want to continue, I want to be able to go and go around this piece of hair. I'm going to hold down my Option and click, and that gets rid of the forward anchor point, but not the back one. And then continue to click around the hair. And we're going to name that hair. And now you can see we have the big shapes, the face, the body, the hair, done. Now I'm going to go and do the dress. Double clicking to change the name of a layer. Command click. And now we are ready to draw the dress. So I do want to keep some of the shape of the dress because it does have so much detail, but we will not be going in and adding all that beadwork, but just giving it the look that it does have lace on it is important. Another important thing to know is as you are arranging these layers, this is on the top and this is on the bottom. So the reason why I overdrew the body is because the body will be on the bottom and then this dress will be on the top. So you won't be able to see all that extra that I drew for the body. You will only see the dress on top. And that's just a way to like save yourself some time and not have to worry about drawing a perfect line for every single little thing. Okay, and now I'm command minus to zoom out. And here we have all the important stuff. I know this area is not quite finished. I'm not going to be illustrating all these roses and flowers, even though that'd be gorgeous. That would take a lot of time. I'm just not going to do it. I'll probably crop this all into right about here-ish. So I won't even need to do the detail beyond this area. So we're going to go ahead and find our base color so that we can start adding details. So on the face layer, I'm going to click our face, and then we're going to try and sample the most accurate face color that we can. So we're hitting I to access our eyedropper tool. It's also right here. And I'm going to just kind of drag around to find probably the lightest tone on her face so that I can go back and add the contours. Let's try there. That looks good. And then when I click the toggle, I can turn on and off that face. So what I like to do for the body, click on the body shape, I will match the face, which that honestly looks a little purple. So we're just going to warm it up by going more orange-ish toned. Eyedropper tool will usually get you pretty close, so sometimes you gotta use your eye. And there we go. So I like to sample one and then just lighten up the other so you see that slight difference. But they still look like they belong to the same person. And if you need to go and correct any of your lines, you hit Command and hold, and now I can change my pen strokes. You can also, to smooth out a line that maybe you just don't like a whole lot, go to the pencil tool, which is hidden underneath right now, the paintbrush tool. Sometimes you'll see it just the pencil tool, and I click on the smooth, and then you can drag the general area and it smooths out your shape. Gets rid of any awkward lines you may have. It's a great tool to have when you're starting out. Okay, so we have her face. Now let's get her hair, which is a pretty dark brown. Obviously it's going to show up blue with this light, so we're going to fix that. Good tip, if you're trying to get brown, go to orange and then scroll down. And that would be about the tone of her hair we're going to go with. And then with the dress, we're going to go to a very light white. Okay, I'll just use the Mary. Okay, so now we have the basic shape. And here's how we can toggle off to see what it would look like. We are going to be cropping into here, like I said before, so I'm not going to worry about this. But now we're going to go in and start adding face details. So I'm going to toggle off the face and body, and we're going to add a layer, and I'm going to put it just above face and body, and I just click and drag. And here we're going to get the facial features. So let's start with the eyes. So just clicking and dragging to get those curved lines. Option click, go back, and here it goes. Sometimes you'll start off and it'll just look like a crazy person, but then once you just keep adding the details, and we'll get into shading in a bit, you'll see how it'll start to look a little bit more alive. Going in with her eyebrows. Extend that past the hair. And we'll just use my smooth tool real quick to just even out some of those. Great. Clicking P to switch back quickly to my pen tool. Okay, and then we're going to add our pupil, and I got this tool by just clicking L, or you can click over here in the Shapes panel. You get rectangle, ellipse, all of this. So I just use L to access it quickly. And clicking and drag, holding down Shift if you want the proportions to stay the same. There is her iris, and then we're just going to do another one for her pupil. Shifting that over a bit. Obviously looking a little bit crazy. We're just going to go ahead and color this so we can see what we have with her black eyeliner. So here's the general shape that we have going here. This needs to extend slightly past that, but then we want our eyeliner to cover the top layer. So to shift our objects in between our layers, you can. As you can see, I've accidentally drawn all these features in the dress layer, so I can just click, drag, select them all, click this, drag them down to the details layer. I can toggle down to select certain objects and change the order, or I can click on the object and then hit Command close bracket to bring it forward and Command open bracket to push it back. So here's the very basic shape. I'm going to go ahead and add a highlight to her eye so she looks like a living person. Okay, and then we're just going to keep going in and adding details. There I just gave her a little bit of eyeshadow, but I don't want this to be this stark purple on her eyes, so I'm going to click on it, go up to the opacity layer, and pull that back a bit. And that's how you're going to get a lot of these highlights and contours along someone's face. Is I like to just go and do a really rough shape. Highlight it, select it, change the opacity down. And just toggle the face on to make sure all it's going to show up fine, and it will. I'm just going to keep working on those details. So if you really don't feel like going in with all of these shapes and doing all of this work, and you're like, I kind of just want to make a portrait without having to do all of this extra work for it, what you can do is do that initial step that we did, and then just cut to the end when I'm doing the detail on the hair and the dress. This will create a faceless portrait, and sometimes you may have seen these. They're really great if you want to add addition to a gallery wall, because a lot of times on gallery walls it's just full of pictures, and it almost feels like you have 100 faces staring at you. And in order for to make it a little bit more cohesive, you can do a faceless portrait. Sorry for that horrifying image real quick. You can do a faceless portrait, and then you can have still that like event memory without having a whole nother picture on your wall. highlight here. I'm clicking the L tool again to get my oval. Use that. And we're just gonna take a quick edge up here. Boom, just coming along. I'm going to go ahead and soften all of these. Something you can do to kind of soften these hard edges you see around where you kind of want a cheek flush is you click on the object, you go to Effect, down to Blur, Gaussian Blur, and you can preview it. It's way too big, pull it back, and it will just feather out the edges slightly. I'm going to try and copy some of this to the other side. So how I do that is I click, I hold down my Option key, and then drag it over. Just saves you a little bit of work. I do want to edit my blur a little bit, so I'm going to go to Appearance, Gaussian Blur. I'd like to now apologize to Alyssa for leaving her face in this state while I'm working on it. Sorry about that, girl. She's gonna... And with these, it's really up to you about how much detail you want to add. You can go crazy, or you can keep it very simplistic, almost cartoony. Totally fine. I'm just adding a little bit of detail to her irises. And again, I'm pulling down the Option key to duplicate these shapes all the way around. Then I'm going to hold down my Shift key as I click them to select them all. I'm going to hit Command G to group them, then lower the opacity a little bit. Grab my pupil and my highlight and bring them to the front. Just Command bracket and boom. A little bit of detail in her eye. I'm just going to keep on working. Definitely made her eye way too big, so I'm going to go back in. Going to do a correction real quick. I want from here, here, and that will join the other eyeliner. Now going to add eyelashes. A nice way to do that. Click at the lash line, draw up, make a path. Sure it's just a stroke. Make that stroke black. And I like to big fake lashes, so. Then we go to our stroke option and click Show Options. Let's show all of it. And then for profile, we will go for this pointed shape. This looks like an eyelash. So we can change the thickness, which is called weight, and keep making eyelashes. Go and select all the ones that don't have that effect. Again, holding down my Shift key. Arrow, and just add some weight to those. Oh, just kidding. going to adjust these just so it's not poking out over the cornea. And then I'm going to go back and add even some more corner pieces. So you're using the same profile, but now a 1-point weight. Just going to keep adding details to this eye. One thing I noticed on your other eye is that I definitely want to make all of this much bigger. So I'm going to select all of this. And just go ahead and group all of it together because I pretty much be working it at the same time. And we're going to hold down Shift and Option. Shift scales it proportionately. If I didn't have Shift down, it would do that. Shifting holds it. Option makes it go from a single point. So when I hold up both of them, it scales proportionally from a single point. I'm just going to make this pretty big. Adjust slightly. See how that looks. That looks much better. Clicking that, and obviously I don't want to overbleed on all of this, so I'm going to take my erase tool. You also can go through and just cut off all those points with your pen tool, but this is again a faster solution. But if you needed to go back, you couldn't with this option. Something to So, to save us a little bit of time, make sure we have everything locked. Okay, we're going to select her entire eye. Then we're going to go up to Object, Transform, Reflect. Vertical, so we're going to flip it over her nose, and Copy. We're going to pull all of this, line it up as fast as we can. And boom, she's got 2 eyeballs. You will need to adjust. There's much of a wonky eye. And flip the highlight over so she doesn't look cross-eyed. So just go ahead and delete that highlight. And then add a new one in the same spot. Double check that. Much better, and then clean up that highlight. Okay. And now we will start working on her mouth before we finish the rest of her face shading. New layer, I'm going to draw her lips. New layer, toggle our lip layer off, and draw the teeth. Now the teeth are very hard to get right, similar to the eyes. If they are slightly off, they do look crazy. We're just going to go in and draw the teeth softly. Also, as you can tell, I am using a pretty low resolution photo, which means I'm having to kind of invent some of these shapes as I think they're supposed to look like on a human. The higher resolution your photo is, the easier it's going to be because you are literally just tracing the lines, filling them in, and then adding some details. So if this is your first time using Adobe Illustrator, first time drawing a portrait at all, go for the highest resolution, the clearest photo, the biggest photo you can find. It'll just make things a lot easier as you're starting out. I'm going to add this background color to fill up all of it. Okay, we're just going to keep going in and correcting the teeth a little bit. Another important point that I probably should have said in the beginning, but I haven't, is to save your work as you go. So I'm going to Command S to open up my saving thing. I'm just going to save it on my computer. We'll just do desktop. We'll just do portrait Alyssa. Okay, and now we know it's saved. We can hit Command S throughout it to just continue saving it. Now let's work on continuing to add face details. This will just get a little monotonous because it's just going to be constant clicking, so I'm going to fast forward through this. The thing is, you're just looking for these shadows and these highlights to add more definition to her face. It still looks a little bit crazy, but it will not for much longer. So let's go. As you can see, even though it looked real crazy there for a moment, I'm just continuously going in and lightening up those shadows. Some of them almost, it feels like you can't see them, but that tiny bit of shadow right here and here just makes her face have a little bit more light. To add a slight detail on her teeth, just going to go like this over the tops of them. You do not have to be perfect with all this stuff, because I prove that with how you can see a lot of my paths are a little crooked, a little messy. With all that shading, as you can see here, it doesn't need to be perfect. You can take forever on it if you want to and make, you know, something that's very realistic, but I kind of like the it's been messily drawn look, so that's what I go for. But whatever style you want is fine. We are going to go in and do her hair. To toggle off hair so you can see that she's bald. Just toggle off all of her face so we can really focus on the hair. Zooming in, we're going to start to add highlights where we need to. So again, I prefer the messy approach. I'm just going to go in and grab some highlights. So now we got a good variety. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these. I'm going to look at our hair again. Eyedropper, match that color. Open up this and just do slightly lighter and have a look at that. Very, very subtle highlights. And I'll add another layer. Toggle off that, and we're going to go back in and do the shadows of the hair. Zoom back up. We're going to grab all of those. And these will be almost black. Okay, so now her hair has some definition. The way I'm going to give it even more life and movement is I'm going to go back and get these little wispy hairs coming off just a tiny bit, and also adding some shine highlights, so things that are brighter than these, just giving it life highlights. Little light highlights as well. There we go. Okay. Here we go, wispies. So for these, I'm just going to be going outside that stroke. And give it that. Ooh. There, and now we have a strand of hair. You could go do this around the entire head and give it a lot of definition, but this works. So what I've done is I've created a stroke. I've done the profile of this varying weight, 2-point, and then rounded my point so it's not a harsh line. And I'm going to go around. Let's go ahead and find the color. That's pretty color. We're going to keep it at that highlight color. I'm going to check to see what this looks like. Click and drag. Change the profile. 2-point weight. Rounded colors. And let's add our lines back. And much better. Starting to look really natural. Zooming out again, let's turn on all the features of her face. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sample this color back here, because this is actually the color of her bridesmaid's dress. Just we'll sample that just so I have a reference for that. And I'm going to turn off my back layer. Making sure everything's unlocked, I'm going to select all of it, clicking and drag or Command A. And then I'm going to hold down my Shift key and pull it to be nice and big. Beautiful. Then we are going to add a circle behind her, and to do that, I want to make sure my circle is going to be centered. So I'm going to click Command R to show my rulers, or you can go to View and then down to Rulers. I'm going to draw a guide. I'm going to drag a guide to the halfway point to be 4 1/4. And also can check on the placement of your illustration. Going to click L to get my circle again. Holding down Shift and Option. Pull that down. And then we're going to add this to a layer and put it in the very back. I'm going to go in and above my circle layer to draw a rough shape. I'm trying. And now I'm going to take this, bring it slightly down. And now she kind of has a little bit of a shadow behind her, a little bit darker. Just gives a tiny bit more visual interest. And here you can be completely done. Let's save that real quick. You can continue to add things to the background. You could add text, maybe her wedding date on the top. To add text, all you do is hit T or here. And you can type whatever you want. Adding a wedding date would be very beautiful for this, but I kind of like how simple it is. And this is the finished product. So as you were following along, if you decided that all of this detail and all of this shading was not for you, all you would really need to do is her face shape, her body shape, her dress, her hair. With some of these hair details, you want to have a little bit of structure. At the very least, just highlight the front pieces and maybe a little bit of a detail where her chin line starts.
So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. A big thank you to Alyssa for not allowing me, but for using her photos. I'll send you a print for it. And if you have any questions on this tutorial, if you got lost at some point, or if I left something out, feel free to DM me and ask any questions you have. Or if you just love this approach, but you don't want to do any of the work yourself, you can always contact me for a commission piece. And thank you so much for watching, and go Bobcats!
Hey Bobcat Nation, I'm Caitlin Kerrigan and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. I graduated in 2014 with a degree in sports science and then went on to get my MAT in early childhood education. Thank you so much for tuning in to our 7th video of our summer alumni series, and a huge thank you to Haylee for sharing all about digital portraits with us. It is so important to brush up on those technology skills and to stay connected. It has been so wonderful being able to hear from all of our alumni the past few weeks and to see what they are currently up to. Speaking of staying connected, be sure to like our alumni page to stay updated with events happening this summer and into fall. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy during this time, and as always, go Bobcats!